The Draconians were known across the galaxy for their strength and ruthlessness. With their massive fleet, they had conquered countless planets, leaving only destruction in their wake. Their eyes had now turned toward Earth, a small unknown planet, home to a species that the galaxy considered primitive and weak, humans. The Draconians were sure this would be an easy conquest. The Galactic Council, a group of representatives from various alien species, watched with great interest. They had studied humanity from afar, always curious about how such a young and fragile species would handle themselves when faced with a threat. Many species were certain that the humans would fall without putting up much of a fight. The Draconians were known to be swift and merciless, and the Council expected a swift victory. For weeks, the Draconian fleet moved closer to Earth, sending shockwaves throughout the galaxy. Rumors of their arrival spread like wildfire. Many of the more peaceful species hoped that the humans could find some way to defend themselves, but most believed that their fate was sealed. The Draconians were too powerful, and humans were no match for their advanced technology and military might. As the fleet entered Earth's solar system, the tension grew. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for the first sign of battle. The Draconians were known for their brutal tactics, destroying entire cities in their wake, leaving nothing but ashes behind. The Galactic Council, far away on their home planets, anxiously watched the news from Earth. The Council's observers had been closely monitoring the situation, keeping track of every move the Draconian fleet made. They believed it would only be a matter of time before Earth fell. But then something strange happened. For 2 days, no one heard anything from the Draconian fleet. No reports of destruction. No signs of battle. The usual chaos that followed the Draconians' attacks was missing. The fleets, which had once been filled with the sounds of engines, communication, and movement, were suddenly silent. The Galactic Council grew concerned. The fleet had disappeared without a trace. There were no signals, no distress calls, nothing. The usual reports of destruction were absent. For a species known for its deadly precision, the Draconians' sudden silence was unnerving. The Council dispatched its best observer, Raylan, a young avian alien, to investigate. Raylan had always been fascinated by Earth. Though she had never visited, she had read countless reports about the planet's strange beauty and its people. The human race was unlike anything else in the galaxy, resilient, curious, and full of surprises. Still, the general opinion was that humans stood no chance against the Draconians. But the silence in space made Raylan uneasy. What had happened to the Draconian fleet? She boarded her ship, a sleek craft that could travel faster than most ships in the galaxy. Raylan was determined to find answers. She knew that Earth had somehow managed to remain undisturbed, but how? The Draconians were known for their advanced technology, and no species had ever escaped their grasp without paying the price. Raylan's journey to Earth was quick, but the closer she got, the more questions filled her mind. What could cause such a mighty force to disappear? Had Earth somehow fought back? Or had the Draconians decided to leave of their own accord? It didn't make sense. The fleet had been massive, and the humans, according to the reports, were not capable of resisting such an invasion. When Raylan finally reached Earth's orbit, she was shocked by what she saw. The planet seemed peaceful, almost too peaceful. There were no signs of battle, no smoke rising from the cities, no burning ruins. It was as if the fleet had never arrived at all. Raylan activated her ship's sensors, scanning the planet for any signs of the Draconians. She detected faint signals coming from deep within the atmosphere. The signals were weak, distorted, and unclear, but they were there. It was almost as if the fleet was still present, but hiding. For a moment, Raylan wondered if the fleet had simply left. But then she realized that something far more unusual might have occurred. Earth, despite being so small and seemingly unprepared, had done something that made the Draconians vanish without a trace. She decided to land her ship discreetly and investigate further. Something was happening on Earth, something that could change everything the galaxy knew about humanity. Raylan's ship silently glided over Earth's atmosphere. The planet below appeared tranquil, almost too calm for a world that had just been targeted for invasion. No signs of chaos, no raging battles, only the normal hum of human civilization. As her ship descended, Raylan couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The Draconians were notorious for leaving nothing behind but destruction, yet there was no trace of their presence here. It was as if they had never arrived. She had expected to find ruins, smoke rising from cities, or signs of fierce resistance. Instead, Earth looked untouched, serene even. The human cities were spread out below her, each shining with lights that showed no sign of fear or panic. The technology on the ground was not nearly as advanced as the Draconians, but it was enough to build thriving civilizations. Yet, where was the evidence of an invasion? Raylan quickly activated her sensors, sending out a deep scan of the planet's surface. The data she received was puzzling. There were no traces of battle energy or power signals from Draconian ships. Everything appeared normal, almost like the fleet had never been here. She zoomed in on a few major cities, observing from a distance. People walked through streets, cars drove along roads, and buildings stood tall and proud. It seemed so peaceful, too peaceful for a world that should have been fighting for survival. The more she looked, the more confused she became. Determined to get answers, Raylan activated the stealth mode on her ship. She wasn't ready to reveal herself to the humans just yet. She needed to find out what had happened, and there was only one way to do that: by going to the source. Raylan decided to land in a remote location, far away from human settlements. As her ship touched down in a dense forest, she stepped out, her feet crunching softly on the dry leaves below. The air smelled fresh, and the sky above was clear. She glanced at her ship, making sure it was hidden from any potential human observers. Earth's primitive radar systems wouldn't detect her, but she still needed to be cautious. Her mission was to understand what had caused the Draconian fleet to vanish. Could it be that the humans had fought back in some way, or had the Draconians simply given up? Raylan couldn't yet tell, but she knew she had to investigate more closely. She ventured toward the nearest human settlement, keeping her presence hidden from their eyes. As she moved through the forest, she noticed something strange. A series of small devices scattered along the ground, barely visible unless one knew where to look. These devices appeared to be some sort of communication tool, each one powered by a small, unidentifiable energy source. Raylan picked one up, examining it closely. It was unlike anything she had seen before. It wasn't Draconian technology, nor was it from any other known species in the galaxy. This was human-made. The device seemed to have been designed to interfere with signals, possibly scrambling any attempt to detect the human presence. It was clever, she realized. Earth had somehow found a way to hide itself from the advanced technology of the Draconians. A sense of awe swept over her as she considered the possibilities. Humans were not as defenseless as the galaxy had believed. They had somehow developed a way to mask their presence, to prevent their enemies from locating them. But how? And why had the Draconians not noticed? Raylan continued her journey, her mind racing with new questions. Eventually, she arrived at a small town, where she witnessed something even more shocking. People were going about their day-to-day lives, working in markets, chatting with each other, and living without fear. There was no sign of distress or panic. It was as if they had no idea their planet was ever under threat. She slipped into a nearby cafe, where a few locals were gathered. Listening in on their conversations, she heard no mention of the Draconians, no fear of an invasion. Instead, they spoke about their usual routines: work, family, and the weather. Raylan was perplexed. The Draconians' fleet had come to conquer Earth, and yet it seemed like the humans had simply gone about their business, unaffected by the impending doom. One human, a woman sitting at a table near Raylan, noticed something odd. Her gaze shifted briefly toward the avian observer. It was clear that Raylan wasn't quite blending in, despite her disguise. Raylan quickly turned away, feeling her pulse quicken. She had underestimated Earth's alertness. She decided to leave the cafe, but not before she overheard a chilling remark from a nearby man. "You can never hide from us. We're always watching." Raylan was struck by the words. Was this a human warning to someone? Or something? Were they aware of the draconian threat in ways she had not yet understood? It seemed that Earth, for all its peaceful appearance, had a level of awareness and preparation far beyond what any other species had imagined. As she made her way back to her ship, the mystery deepened. Earth was no ordinary planet. It was a world that had somehow managed to slip under the radar of the galaxy's most dangerous invaders. What had happened here? And why had the Draconians, so sure of their victory, suddenly disappeared without a trace? Raylan was no closer to an answer, but one thing was clear. The humans were more than just survivors. They had outsmarted the galaxy's most feared fleet, and that was just the beginning of the mystery. Raylan stood in front of her ship, her mind racing with questions. What had happened to the Draconian fleet? How had Earth, a small and seemingly unprepared planet, managed to survive their attack? She couldn't shake the feeling that something extraordinary was happening on Earth, something that the rest of the galaxy had completely overlooked. She had spent hours walking through the forest and the small town, observing the humans and their way of life. Everything seemed so ordinary, so normal. But there was a quiet undercurrent of something more. The humans had a sense of awareness, a hidden strength that Raylan couldn't quite understand. She felt it in the way they carried themselves, in the way they spoke of their lives with quiet confidence. It was as if they knew something that the galaxy didn't. As she pondered, she realized that Earth's technology, while not as advanced as the Draconians, was not as primitive as the galaxy believed. The small communication devices she had found in the forest, designed to scramble signals and hide human activity, were just the beginning. There was more to this planet than met the eye. Raylan decided to delve deeper. She couldn't return to the Galactic Council with more questions. She needed answers. If Earth had indeed managed to defeat the Draconians, or at least made them disappear, she needed to know how. She had to understand what made the humans so different from the countless other species the Draconians had conquered without struggle. She boarded her ship and set her course toward a large human military base that she had detected earlier using her sensors. She wasn't sure what she would find there, but if humans had some kind of hidden defense, it was likely to be stored in a place like that. The journey to the base was short, but the closer she got, the more she felt the weight of her mission. The Draconians were gone, but the mystery surrounding their disappearance was just beginning to grow. Earth had somehow protected itself, and Raylan was determined to uncover the truth. As her ship neared the base, she cloaked it, blending it with the environment so that no human sensors could detect her presence. She carefully maneuvered the ship through the air, her eyes fixed on the base below. The base was enormous, far larger than she had expected for a species that the galaxy deemed unworthy of attention. It was a strange place for such a powerful defense to be hidden, especially considering that Earth's technology was thought to be behind the times. Raylan landed her ship in a secluded area outside the base, where it was less likely to be noticed. She disguised herself further, adopting a more human-like appearance, using a basic cloaking device. It wasn't perfect, but it would help her blend in with the humans and go unnoticed as she gathered information. As she approached the base, Raylan couldn't help but notice the soldiers stationed outside. They weren't the advanced, heavily armored warriors of the Draconians, but they were still highly alert, their eyes scanning the surroundings with a sharpness that Raylan hadn't expected from humans. She had assumed they were unprepared, but the humans appeared to be ready for anything. This was no ordinary military base. It was a fortress, and the humans manning it seemed to be preparing for something much larger than their usual defense tactics. Raylan moved closer, staying out of sight. She overheard conversations between soldiers, talking in low voices about something big coming up. They didn't mention the Draconians, but there was an underlying tension in the air. It was clear that they were waiting for something to happen. Something big. Had the humans already seen the Draconian threat coming? Was there more to their defense than she had realized? She continued her observation, trying to gather as much information as she could. The humans, it seemed, had prepared for something much larger than a simple invasion. They had resources, hidden technology, and more importantly, they had an unshakable confidence in themselves. Raylan moved to a quieter area of the base and accessed the communication system. Using her advanced technology, she was able to bypass the security and listen in on private messages. What she heard made her heart race with realization. The humans had been preparing for years, possibly even decades. They had built a hidden defense network across the planet, using their knowledge of energy manipulation, advanced engineering, and most impressively, their ability to adapt and think on the fly. They had developed a way to fight back against much more powerful enemies, including the Draconians. The mysterious communication devices he had found earlier were just one small piece of the puzzle. The humans had far more sophisticated tools and strategies in place than anyone had imagined. Raylan stood there, stunned. Earth was not the defenseless, primitive world the galaxy had believed it to be. The humans had known their weaknesses, and instead of hiding, they had worked tirelessly to turn them into strengths. They had outsmarted the Draconians in ways that no one could have predicted. The more Raylan learned, the more she realized that Earth's true power was not in its military might, but in its creativity, its determination, and its ability to surprise. The Draconians had underestimated this planet, and that had been their fatal mistake. Raylan's mind buzzed with this new information. She had come to Earth to understand why the Draconians had vanished, and now she understood. The humans had found a way to make their world disappear from the galactic radar. They had fought back without firing a single shot. As Raylan prepared to leave the base, she couldn't help but feel a sense of respect for the humans. They had faced the impossible and found a way to survive. And that was just the beginning. Raylan stood by her ship, her thoughts still racing after everything she had uncovered. Earth was not the defenseless world the Draconians had believed it to be. The humans had a powerful, hidden defense network, one that had kept them safe from an enemy fleet that had once seemed unstoppable. But as Raylan looked out over the horizon, a new question began to form in her mind. Who had helped the humans? How had they been able to develop such technology and strategy so quickly? There had to be more to this story. She had learned that Earth was no ordinary planet, but the mystery was far from solved. The humans had been preparing for something larger, something they had known would come. It was clear they weren't just defending themselves. They had been planning for a war they knew would come from the stars. But from whom? Raylan knew she had to go deeper. She couldn't simply leave Earth with more questions than answers. Something was hidden here, something that the rest of the galaxy didn't understand. The humans had done more than survive. They had thrived. They had allies, but who were they? Her thoughts turned to the strange devices she had found earlier, the ones scattered through the forest. She remembered how they had seemed so advanced, yet so different from anything she had encountered. They weren't Draconian technology, nor were they from any known species in the galaxy. She had only one lead left. If the humans were working with another power, it would be crucial to find out who it was and how they had helped. Raylan decided to search for answers at a human research facility she had detected earlier. It was on the outskirts of a large city, away from the more obvious military bases. She wasn't sure what she would find there, but it was her best chance of uncovering the truth. As her ship flew through the air toward the facility, Raylan couldn't help but feel a growing sense of unease. The humans had been hiding something, and it was starting to feel like the pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fit together. She had already uncovered their ingenuity and their ability to adapt. But now she needed to know who had been helping them. When Raylan landed near the research facility, she activated her cloaking device once again, making sure her presence went undetected. She approached the building quietly, using her keen senses to stay hidden from any human security systems. This was no ordinary research facility. The energy readings were off the charts, and there were signs of advanced technology buried deep within the walls. She slipped inside, moving through the dark corridors with ease. The building was almost eerily silent, as if the humans working here had no idea of the danger lurking just beyond their doorstep. As she made her way deeper into the facility, Raylan found something that made her heart race: a series of large machines, humming with energy. These were unlike any human technology she had ever seen before. They were designed to manipulate energy on a massive scale, something far beyond the capacity of any known human development. She approached one of the machines, studying it closely. This wasn't just a research project. It was a weapon, or perhaps a tool of defense. The energy readings were stable, but Raylan could sense that it was designed to protect something. It was then that she noticed something else. There were markings on the machines, symbols she didn't recognize. These weren't human symbols. In fact, they seemed familiar, but not from any species she knew. Her heart pounded as she realized what she was seeing. These markings weren't from a human culture. They were from an ancient, forgotten race of beings that had once traveled the stars, a race that had vanished long before the Draconians began their reign of terror. The energy manipulation technology in this facility was too advanced for the humans to have developed on their own, and the markings confirmed her suspicions. The humans weren't alone. They had made contact with an alien race, one that had shared its advanced knowledge and technology with them. This was no simple alliance. It was a partnership, a bond between two species that had somehow managed to remain hidden from the rest of the galaxy. Raylan felt a wave of shock wash over her. The humans had been working with this ancient race, learning from them, preparing for the day when they would need to defend themselves. It was no wonder they had outsmarted the Draconians. They had been planning for this moment for far longer than anyone had realized. She turned to leave the facility, but before she could exit, a voice echoed through the dark halls. "You shouldn't be here." Raylan froze, her heart skipping a beat. She turned to face the voice, her mind racing. The voice was calm, yet filled with authority. She didn't recognize it, but it wasn't human. Whoever, or whatever, spoke was not from Earth. Before she could react, the figure stepped out of the shadows. It was tall, cloaked in dark robes, its features hidden by the shadows. The figure's eyes glowed with a faint otherworldly light, and its presence seemed to fill the room. "Who are you?" Raylan asked, trying to hide the surprise in her voice. The figure didn't answer immediately. Instead, it studied her carefully, as if evaluating whether she was a threat. Finally, it spoke, its voice low and measured. "We are the ones who have guided the humans. We are the ones who have protected them." Raylan's mind raced as she tried to make sense of the situation. The answers she had been seeking were finally within her grasp. But who was this being? And what was its true role in Earth's defense? Raylan stood frozen as the figure stepped closer, its glowing eyes studying her with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. The voice from the shadows had not been human, and the being before her was anything but ordinary. It spoke with a calm authority, as if it had seen and known more than any being in the galaxy. "We are the ones who have guided the humans," the figure said again, its tone unwavering. "We are the ones who have protected them." Raylan's mind raced, trying to make sense of the revelation. She had assumed the humans had developed their defenses on their own, perhaps with a bit of help from hidden technology or forgotten knowledge. But this being, this ancient entity, was telling her something entirely different. The humans were not alone. They had been under the protection of an ancient race, one that had been guiding them from the shadows for much longer than anyone had realized. Raylan took a cautious step forward, trying to mask her growing curiosity and unease. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice steady despite the flood of questions in her mind. "And why have you been hiding from the rest of the galaxy?" The figure did not immediately respond, but it tilted its head, as if considering her question carefully. Finally, it spoke again, its voice a mixture of power and sorrow. "We are the Elders, an ancient race that once traveled the stars long before your kind or the Draconians. We are not of this galaxy, and we have kept our existence hidden for millennia. The humans were never meant to know of us, but their need for protection became too great. Raylan listened in silence, her mind grappling with the enormity of what she was hearing. An ancient race, one that had been watching over the humans for centuries. She had never heard of such beings before, and the idea seemed almost impossible to believe. "We have seen the rise and fall of countless civilizations," the elder continued, its voice echoing through the darkened halls. "We have witnessed the destruction wrought by the Draconians and the suffering they caused to countless species. The humans, though young and inexperienced, were different. They showed potential, a spark of something greater. We decided to help them, to guide them in their struggle for survival." Raylan felt a growing sense of awe as the elder spoke. The humans had never been alone. They had been protected and nurtured by this mysterious, ancient race who had given them knowledge and the tools to defend themselves. The pieces of the puzzle were finally coming together, but with each new piece, more questions emerged. "Why Earth?" Raylan asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why choose them over so many other species?" The elder's gaze softened, and for the first time, Raylan sensed a deep sadness in its voice. "Because humans are different. They possess something that no other species in the galaxy has, the ability to adapt, to grow, to overcome. It is not technology or might that makes them powerful, but their resilience. They have faced impossible odds and survived. We saw their potential, and we decided to help them find their path." Raylan struggled to process this information. The humans were not just an ordinary species. They had an inner strength that the elder claimed had set them apart from every other civilization. But how had they managed to hide this from the rest of the galaxy for so long? "You have watched them for centuries," Raylan said, her mind spinning. "But why reveal yourselves now? Why tell me all of this?" The elder was silent for a moment, its glowing eyes flickering with a hint of regret. "Because the time has come for them to stand on their own. The galaxy is changing, and the Draconians are not the only threat that will come for them. We can no longer shield them from the universe's dangers. It is time for the humans to rise and face their future. But they cannot do it alone. They will need allies. They will need to understand the truth of their past and of their connection to us." Raylan's heart pounded as the weight of the elder's words settled in. The humans had been protected by this ancient race, but now they were being asked to stand alone. It was a daunting task, one that would test their strength and resolve in ways they had never imagined. "How do I fit into this?" Raylan asked, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "Why are you telling me all of this?" The elder's gaze fixed on her with a piercing intensity. "Because you are not just an outsider. You, like the humans, possess the ability to change the course of the future. You have seen the truth of what the Draconians were capable of, and you know what lies ahead. Your path and theirs are now intertwined. You will help guide them, just as we have guided you." Raylan stood in stunned silence. She had come to Earth seeking answers, but she had never expected anything like this. The fate of the humans was now in her hands, and she had a choice to make. Would she join the humans in their fight for survival, or would she turn her back on them and return to the stars? The elder's final words echoed in her mind. "The choice is yours, Raylan. But know this, the future of Earth, and the future of the galaxy, depends on what you do next." Raylan stood motionless, her mind racing as the elder's words echoed in her thoughts. The weight of what she had just learned pressed down on her, heavy and unyielding. The future of Earth, the fate of humanity, and perhaps even the entire galaxy were all connected in ways she had never imagined. Her path was no longer her own. It was intertwined with theirs. The humans, the Draconians, the mysterious ancient race guiding them all. And now her role in the unfolding story. Her heart was torn. She had seen the strength of humanity. She had witnessed their resilience, their drive, and their unwavering ability to fight against impossible odds. But now the responsibility for their survival lay in her hands. The elder had made it clear, the humans had been sheltered for far too long, and the time had come for them to rise on their own. But would they be ready? Could they rise to the challenge, or would they crumble in the face of what was to come? Raylan's thoughts flashed back to the moment she had first arrived on Earth. The humans had been nothing like the Draconians had believed. They had been weak, vulnerable, but also incredibly resourceful. She had underestimated them. And now she realized that the galaxy had done the same for centuries. Perhaps the humans' greatest strength wasn't in their technology or their physical might, but in their hearts, their determination to survive and protect what they loved. She glanced up at the Elder, its glowing eyes still watching her. Its form remained still and imposing, as if waiting for her to make a decision. The pressure of the moment was palpable, and Raylan felt a sense of urgency creeping in. She knew that she had a choice to make, but it was not an easy one. "Tell me," Raylan began, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. "What happens if I choose to leave? What happens if I walk away from all of this?" The Elder's expression remained unreadable. It took a slow step forward, its presence filling the room. "If you leave, the humans will continue to fight alone. They will face the challenges of the galaxy without the guidance they need. And though they are strong, their struggle will be far harder. The Draconians will not stop. Other threats will rise. The galaxy is a dangerous place, Raylan. Without help, Earth may not survive." Raylan absorbed the weight of the Elder's words. It was clear that the stakes had never been higher. The Draconians were only one part of the greater danger. There were other forces out there, forces that would stop at nothing to see Earth fall. The humans were strong, but they would need more than just their strength to overcome what lay ahead. They needed guidance, strategy, allies. They needed her. But Raylan wasn't sure if she was ready for that responsibility. She had come to Earth as an outsider, a visitor, but now she was being asked to become a leader, to shape the future of a species. She had seen the potential in the humans, but was she truly the one to help them realize it? What if she failed? What if her involvement only made things worse? Raylan closed her eyes for a moment, trying to gather her thoughts. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and uncertainties, but she had already seen the depth of the humans' potential. They weren't perfect, but they had something that set them apart from every other species she had encountered. Hope. Hope and the will to fight for a future, no matter how dark the road ahead seemed. She opened her eyes and met the Elder's gaze once again. "What do you want me to do?" she asked, her voice resolute. "How do I help them?" The Elder's glowing eyes softened, and for the first time, Raylan saw a flicker of approval in its gaze. "You are not alone in this task," it said, its voice gentle yet firm. "There are others, those who have watched over Earth, who are ready to aid the humans. Together, you will guide them through the coming trials. But first, you must help them understand the truth of their past and their potential. They need to know that they are not alone in the universe. They must embrace their future and the power that lies within them." Raylan nodded slowly, a new sense of determination filling her. She had never asked for this responsibility, but now that she understood the magnitude of the situation, she couldn't turn her back on it. The humans had fought hard to survive. They had endured, and now they would have to rise to meet the challenges that lay ahead. And she would be there, standing with them, guiding them through the darkness. The Elder stepped back, its figure receding into the shadows. "Your path is clear, Raylan," it said. "The future of Earth and the galaxy depends on your choices. Choose wisely, and the humans will have a chance to change the course of history." Raylan stood silently for a moment, her heart racing as the weight of her decision settled upon her. There was no turning back now. Whatever happened next, she would face it with the humans. She would help them understand the truth, and she would fight beside them, every step of the way. As she turned to leave the facility, a newfound sense of purpose filled her. The time for hesitation had passed. The time for action had arrived. Raylan stood at the edge of the forest, the cool breeze brushing against her face as she gazed out at the horizon. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the landscape. It was a peaceful sight, one that reminded her of everything worth protecting. The humans had come a long way, And now, they were ready to face the challenges of the galaxy with the strength they had always possessed, but perhaps had never fully realized until now. She had spent the past few weeks working alongside them, helping to uncover the truth about their past, their connection to the ancient race that had watched over them for centuries, and their potential to change the future. The humans had absorbed the knowledge she had shared with them, and though the journey ahead was uncertain, there was a new fire in their eyes, a new sense of purpose. Raylan turned her head as she heard footsteps behind her. She didn't need to look to know who it was. She could feel the presence of her allies, the humans who had come to stand beside her in this fight for survival. "Are you ready?" a voice asked, filled with quiet determination. Raylan smiled, a sense of calm washing over her. It was Liam, the human leader who had earned her respect over the past weeks. He had been skeptical at first, unsure of her true intentions, but now he was one of the strongest supporters of their cause. Together, they had trained the humans, shared the knowledge of the elder race, and prepared for the inevitable clash with the Draconians and any other threat that would dare to challenge Earth. "As ready as we'll ever be," Raylan replied. "There's no turning back now." Liam nodded, his eyes serious. "We've come a long way, but the real battle is just beginning." Raylan's mind wandered back to the Elder's words. The future of Earth and the galaxy depended on the humans embracing their potential. She had shown them their true strength, and now they were ready to stand on their own. But she knew the road ahead would be hard. The Draconians would not give up easily, and there were other dangers lurking in the galaxy, watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. Yet Raylan felt a sense of hope she had never felt before. The humans were ready. They had learned to trust each other, to work together, and to fight for what mattered most. They had proven their resilience time and time again, and now they would face the challenges of the universe head-on. As they prepared to leave the forest and return to their camp, Raylan felt a gentle hand on her shoulder. She turned to find Anna, a young human who had joined their cause early on. Anna had once been afraid, uncertain of her place in the universe, but now she stood tall, a symbol of the strength humanity had within. "I'm ready too," Anna said, her voice filled with conviction. "We're all ready." Raylan smiled. "You've come a long way, Anna. All of you have." Liam stepped forward, his gaze firm. "We've learned from you, Raylan. You showed us what we were capable of. But we've also learned something important on our own. We're not just fighting to survive. We're fighting for our future. For Earth." Raylan felt a deep sense of pride swell within her chest. The humans had changed. They had gone from struggling survivors to fierce warriors, not just of their planet, but of the entire galaxy. They had discovered their true strength, and now they would face whatever came their way with courage and unity. Together, they made their way back to the camp, where others were waiting. The plan was simple: prepare for battle, gather allies, and make their stand. It was a fight they could not afford to lose. The galaxy was watching, and the humans were about to show everyone what they were truly capable of. As night fell, the camp buzzed with activity. Raylan watched as the humans worked together, organizing their defenses and sharing strategies. There was no fear now, only resolve. They were ready. Liam approached once more, this time with a serious expression. "Raylan," he said quietly, "we couldn't have done this without you. You showed us the truth, and you've helped us find the strength to fight. But there's one thing we still need to do: show the galaxy what Earth can do. Show them that humanity won't be crushed, that we won't bow to anyone." Raylan nodded, her gaze unwavering. "And we will. Together, we'll face whatever comes next as one. Earth will rise." The stars above twinkled brightly, as if echoing her words. The humans were no longer alone. They had allies, they had strength, and most importantly, they had the will to fight for a future they believed in. The galaxy had underestimated them before, but soon it would know the truth. Earth was a force to be reckoned with. As Raylan stood among the humans, ready for the battles ahead, she realized that she had found something she hadn't even known she was searching for. Hope. Hope that together they could overcome anything. And that hope would carry them through the challenges of the galaxy, no matter what came next.